Welcome everyone to our webinar where we are extremely excited to announce that finally there is one system that will help you run your distillery from end to end. There are many amazing systems that help you do one or a couple of things really well, but over the last 6 months we've worked with a number of distilleries developing our revolutionary product within NetSuite, Bottle ERP. My name is Rob Scambler, Sales Director at Catalyst ERP, and I'm delighted to introduce Stephen Saunders, PS Director at Catalyst ERP, who'll be showing you the platform today.
Hi, everyone.
I'll spend just a few minutes introducing you to who we are, and then what Bottle ERP is and its relationship with NetSuite. Then Stephen will show you the key features that specifically relate to your industry. Please bear in mind that we only have 40 minutes or so, might run over a little bit, so it's quite light touch. And we will be delighted to arrange follow-up meetings with anyone that's interested in learning a little bit more. But first, let's just start by highlighting some of the key challenges that we hear on a day-to-day basis, talking to people just like you guys on here today. These challenges have been the driving force behind the recent further development within the project. And you'll see shortly how we manage LPA in and out, how we track duty payable, and how we help you manage your casks and containers, and how all this information feeds through to finance, but it's all accessible on that one platform. So just a quick introduction to Catalyst. We've been an established solution provider of NetSuite since 2015, and have developed expertise helping manufacturers, wholesalers, and retail companies. However, when Warner's Gin engaged with us around about 7 years ago, we developed the first instance of Bottle ERP. And since then, we've added new customers, including the 3 there you can see. And particularly over the last 6 months or so, we've developed the features to be more geared towards the whiskey industry. Okay, so what is NetSuite? I'm sure most of you have heard of NetSuite. However, just to introduce you to it in a little bit more detail, it's a fully cloud-based system where all 34,000 customers globally are using the same single data source. This is the part that's upgraded twice a year, and so you are never version locked or have to go through painful, expensive upgrades. You can then see that CRM, financials, manufacturing, production are all based within the same system. If you're trading in other countries and require multi-subsidiary management, then NetSuite has you covered here too. You have the ability to flick between subs and the consolidated view in one click of a button. We always like to call it NetSuite's party piece. But the key thing that we're looking at here today is that everything is running on one platform from end to end. So as I said, the whole company will be running on that one platform. So from your sales team using CRM, through to your planners, through to your manufacturers, through to your production team, right through to finance, all on that one platform. And looking at data that is pertinent to that person and that role, but all the data is always linked and in real time. It's going to revolutionize your business. So, what is Bottle ERP? So Bottle ERP is a group of bundles that's been created by Catalyst and are built in the area that says Suite Cloud Platform in that wheel that we just showed you. Meaning that when NetSuite upgrades, the bundles will automatically upgrade with it. So you have all the functionality of NetSuite, and then the specific bundles that we've created. This includes areas such as visual planners, quality control, LPA tracking, gateway to HMRC, etc., etc. And now, in the last 6 months, since working with a number of distilleries, we've now added cask management. Now, that cask management piece is the final piece of the puzzle that everyone seems to be wanting over the past years or so. So it's key to understand that Bottle ERP, okay, is within NetSuite, so you get all the core functionality of NetSuite, and then the fantastic functionality that Stephen and his team have built, which is specific to the whiskey industry. I'll now pass over to Stephen, who's going to show you the demo. Thanks, guys. You're on mute.
Oh. Thanks, Rob. So hopefully everyone can see my screen here now. So we're logged into NetSuite, and as Rob said, so it's cloud-based. We just need access to a browser to gain access to NetSuite, and it's role-based as well, and the roles are permission-based. So we work with you closely to kind of understand the roles and build out the relevant dashboards. And as I change the role that I'm in throughout this demo, you'll see my dashboard change as well. So within NetSuite, we can manage and look after multiple locations. So here we can see in this account, we've got a distillation plant with a quarantine sub-location and a separate visitor center. Each of those locations, we're going to be tracking stock levels and quantities and values, whether they're duty payable or not, or whether they're under bond, etc. So we're managing all those independently within NetSuite. We've also got here, you're able to define your physical items that you make, that you sell, and that you purchase within NetSuite. So here we've got some examples of some finished items that we make, and these are a range of fully fledged assembly items. And here we're capturing, you can see the stock quantities on hand available, ABV values, LPA values, etc. And if we drill into one of the line items, one of the actual physical SKUs in a little bit more detail, here you can see an example of the item card within NetSuite. So as well as all the descriptive information that we're holding, we're capturing things like units of measure, where if we stock it in bottles and cases, etc., NetSuite's able to handle all that for you, as well as alcohol-specific item information as well, such as item flavors, item sizes, ABV values, LPA values, liquid, whether it requires a duty stamp, etc. All that is being maintained within NetSuite at the SKU level. Now, we're also able as well to scroll down and see where we have stock across all of the various locations, and also how we handle the replenishment as well. We're not going to go into too much detail on the replenishment side of it. I will talk briefly about it when we get into the purchasing side, but it's going to be very, very light touch. We're also able to see as well if there's any batches of stock within the organization, where those batches are and where they sit. And we're also able to see as well, because ultimately we're talking about manufacturing here, each of these items on the manufacturing tab will have a bill of materials, or if you're using version control, possibly multiple bill of materials. And if we drill into one of those bill of materials, you can see here is an example of one of these ones for this SKU. We're tracking the individual raw components, as well as some of these items that will actually be sub-assemblies in their own right. So if we was to go, for example, to a bill of materials inquiry for this item, you can see that the complexity that can sit within NetSuite as part of that bill of materials, including multi-level bombs, and NetSuite's going to handle the full roll down for you to make sure that whenever you're making something, all the costs of the finished goods are being costed properly based upon the components and any labor rates, etc., that are built into the bill of materials. So that said, on to the cask management stroke container management that is the recent addition to Bottle ERP that we've added. So casks and containers are going to be managed directly in NetSuite as physical items, but also will have extra attributes assigned to them. So you would raise a purchase order for a cask or a container, and ultimately you would receive those into the business. And when you receive those into the business, they can be marked as fixed assets. And then you're able to handle the depreciation of those containers or casks as well. And here we can see, for example, a list of all the containers that are sat within NetSuite. Each of these containers, we're able to track whether they're owned by us, by the organization, or maybe by a customer. We're able to track as well the type of cask or container it is and what it's had in it previously, the capacity, the number of uses, when it was last sampled, when it's next due to be sampled, etc. All that is being captured on our container record. And there's various methods of how we can then visualize that container information. So we've got a simple container management screen where it will show all our containers, and we're able to select and filter those down by item or specific batches. We're able to track on the individual container the actual type of container that it is, what batch is in there, the strength of it, how old that batch is as well. And we're able to manage all those containers and visualize that data in a nice, succinct way. We're also able to see container information on the item record. So again, if we go back into an item master here, and I've got a little container management tab, again, it's visualizing that container information that is held against that item. So any containers, any batch information, etc., that is storing that particular SKU will be contained under that container management piece. We're also able as well to run some simple reports on container stock, for example. Here we can see a simple example of showing all container stock that we have, that's highlighting any stock that is owned by the customer and which customer that is linked to, which container it sits in, the age, the batch number, etc., is all being captured on NetSuite. Now, it's probably worth noting as well that as part of container management and sorry, let me reword that. As part of container management and cask management, we've also clearly built in some defined processes for sampling, for regauging, for handling remnants and byproducts tracking. And we've also built out as well a full quality control module. Now, we're not going to go in any great length into detail of those sections on this demonstration, but if you would like a detailed breakdown of those, we're happy to arrange a follow-up if need be. I'm just going to change role now so we can talk a little bit around purchasing and manufacturing. So if I change my role, and I'm just going to change it to the procurement role. Here you can see my dashboard changes. It's now telling me information that's important to me as a purchaser. I've got reminders, I've got dashboard shortcuts and alerts, etc., that enable me to kind of track all the information that I need to be able to do. You know, from here, I can very easily look at some basic stock reports, whether it's kind of back order reports or current inventory snapshots. And here, for example, we can see a breakdown of all our stock that we have, and it's broken down by assembly or the actual raw components. And for each individual item, it's given us a breakdown of what we've got on hand, what's on order, if it's committed to any existing orders, and it's going to break that down across either one location or any of the other locations that we've got available here. All these searches and reports, by the way, they're all completely customizable. So, you know, I can go into the report builder and I can make my own custom version of it very simply, very easily. And we can see here another example of a report in NetSuite that's just kind of tracking all stock movements. So we can say an opening position, a closing position, and then NetSuite's going to track all those stock movements between those date ranges that we've put. And again, the back order report as well. So multiple inbuilt reports that NetSuite and Bottle ERP comes with, but we've also got the ability as well to tweak and tailor any custom reports that we might need. Now, NetSuite does also come with a full MRP solution as well. So you're able to do full demand planning. You're able to do just-in-time ordering, to have visibility of all the planned scheduled work orders and purchase orders that are required, as well as any stock shortfalls that could potentially be in the system. Again, we're not going to go into too much detail on this point, but just rest assured that it's very, very capable and true enterprise class a solution around MRP. So once you've run your demand planning engine and NetSuite's calculated based upon a current inventory snapshot, it will create for you what's called a planning workbench. Now, this screen will summarize all your purchasing and manufacturing and supply chain requirements. What it's also able to do as well for our manufacturing items that have full bill of materials with multiple level detailed drill down of sub-assemblies, etc., it's able to ripple through all those bill of materials and work out not only the work orders, the top level work orders, but also any sub-assemblies, work orders, and also any stock that's required for those sub-assemblies. So it's handling all that for us. And it's going to give us a detailed breakdown as to here's everything I think you should do. So, you know, if I, for example, was to look into a purchase order and just drill down on some of the information that it's telling us, and we can see that the level of detail that it's calculating all this at. So, you know, they're all linked to planned work orders, to planned work orders, to planned transfer orders, where we're distributing stock between some of our locations. And it all goes back to our original demand plan that we calculated. based upon historical sales or forward-looking sales transactions, you're able to define all that as part of NetSuite's MRP engine. Hugely powerful, but very simple to use, and it's part of Bottle ERP. If I change hats a little bit again and just talk to you about the manufacturing side of NetSuite. So once I've changed role, again, my dashboard will change. It's now telling me about, work orders I've got to create and work and build for the current work orders that we've got in progress, how far along we are of each of those, for example. And we've also got all the capabilities to kind of report, etc., on all the relevant manufacturing tasks that we would expect within the organization. Now, we do have a simple screen where we can mass create any work orders that our MRP has told us that we need to make. So again, I can go into a single screen in NetSuite and select a certain date range, and NetSuite is going to tell me, here's all the work orders that we need to go and create for to make sure we have enough stock for our planned expected demand that's going to be within the building. And if we're happy with those, all we need to do is click mark all and then click submit, and NetSuite's going to create all our work orders for us. We can change any quantities or anything at this point in time if need be, but once we release those work orders, they will then go into our planner. Once the work orders are released, then they kind of will sit within NetSuite with their planned start dates and planned end dates, etc. As part of Bottle ERP, we created our own visual planner. And what this enables us to do is visualize all that work order data and where it sits within a production queue. So here we can see now, if I go into our visual planner, and let me just change the view on that ever so slightly. So here we can see everything we've got planned for the month of October. It's worth noting that I can change this view, so I can have it in like a grid view, a timeline view. I can look at it a weekly view or a monthly view, but it's fully interactive and completely customizable as well. So within here, we've got the ability to show all the work orders that are in there. We've also got the ability as well, because it's very much interactive and drag and drop. I can say that a work order is going to take longer to build or shorter to build. I can move my work orders accordingly. I can go in there and it's showing me instantly where we've got visibility to make sure we've got enough of the componentry to actually make those finished goods. So everything's showing up nice and green. The orange ones, by the way, are work orders which we haven't planned, that haven't been released yet. So they're only in a planning stage. And again, from our visual calendar, we've got the ability to go in there and release any work orders as well. So the idea being that you would go in, move your work orders around, make it meet your production schedule that you're working to, and then release all the work orders. And then once you release them, it will confirm any stock requirements, etc. in there. And if we was to go into one of those work orders, again, we've got a direct link from this screen. So not only is it telling us the actual item that we're going to be making, the quantity that we're making, and the quantity, the buildable quantity as well that is available in the location that we're doing it at. But I can open that and I can go directly into that work order. And here's a breakdown of the actual thing that we're making, the production start date and end date, as well as all the individual SKUs that are going to be made up of that. And then there is a full process around building the actual work orders, any quality control, label generation, etc. We're handling all of that for you as well. We're not going to go into the full build process as part of this demonstration. Again, if it's something that you want to see go into in more detail, more than happy to do a follow-on demonstration that can focus on the actual build assembly processes within NetSuite. If I just give you an example actually of a work order that has already been built, we can see here some of the kind of related transactions that would link to a build record. So we can clearly see that this work order has been built because it's got a status there right at the top. On the related record tabs, it's going to link to the assembly build record as well. So here's our assembly build record. It's just confirming to us what we built, how many of the stock quantities we used, etc. We're also able to drill into our WMS Go tab, and if there's any byproducts or feints or etc., all those are going to be created as part of Bottle ERP as well. So here we can see that actually there was a byproduct and it's created an inventory adjustment, which is to basically put in the feints into a certain location that will then have an LPA value. They'll then have a cost and a value assigned to them. And then you can attribute however you see fit, whether you resell them off, write them off, etc. at a given period. But the important thing is we're tracking all the LPA in, all the LPA out, and any duty, any wastage, etc. as well as that part process, just from an audit capability. Right, okay, so let's now move over to, I'm going to walk you through now the sales process within Bottle ERP. So again, I'm just going to change role. And now I'm in as a sales role. You can see my dashboard has changed again. And I'm just going to walk through a full order onto the system here. So I can start at the customer record, or I can start directly from my dashboard and just create an order off the back. Here's an example of the customer card on NetSuite. So we're able to track individual contacts that work at that organization. We're able to track any communication, whether that be email, phone calls, activities, etc., being tracked within NetSuite. We're also tracking multiple addresses and sales, etc. And ultimately, NetSuite is a finance system. So we're tracking any overdue balances, we're tracking terms, we're tracking credit limits, we're tracking any days overdue, and all that financial information is being captured in real time on NetSuite. And from here, we can just go in and we can, for example, just create a new sales order. Now, just for time speed, I've already gone to created a sales order already. So here is an example of a sales order on NetSuite. Now, as I've added the line items to the sales order, we can see these are the individual SKUs that the customer has ordered. And they've just ordered 3 items and 1 of each. And it's because there is stock available of those, and it's showing us any stock availability at the given location we've selected, it's already committed that stock for us. We can have a pending approval stage, we can have multi-level approvals, etc. But for the purpose of this demonstration, the order has been automatically approved. We're also tracking as well, which was really pertinent to Bottle ERP. So as part of this, we are tracking duty values, we are tracking the physical rate on there, we're tracking LPA values as well, we're tracking sales ex duty is tracking on there as well. So all the relevant information that we need to track for duty reporting and tracking for audit capabilities of LPA usage is being tracked at line level, but then it's also being summed up as well here, and it's being tracked at order level. And you'll see how all this comes to fruition later when we talk about some of the duty capability reporting and LPA reporting capability in NetSuite. So our order's been placed on the system. We can see it has a status of pending fulfillment, and we can see that we have enough stock to process this order. So as a salesperson, my kind of role here is done. I've placed the order on the system, and then it gets passed over to the warehouse side to actually fulfill those goods. Worth noting as well, we do support the new DRS scheme. So items can be flagged as being DRS eligible. And then we will look up if the customer's shipping address is in Scotland, for example. And then if items are DRS relatable and the customer order is for Scotland, then it will flag and add a little DRS item to the order, and you'll get a little headline banner as well on the order to say that this is part of the DRS scheme. Let me now move over, because we've captured that order on NetSuite. So this is a really good point to show you WMS Go. So WMS Go is our mobile solution that Catalyst have created to handle not only WMS functionality, i.e. receiving purchase orders, fulfilling sales orders, inventory transfers, transfer order movements, that kind of thing, but we've also made it key to Bottle ERP. So wherever you're doing any kind of manufacturing process or quality control process, or we can see here regauges or samples, all these are going to be captured and done through WMS Go. WMS Go comes as part of Bottle ERP, and the users are kept independent from NetSuite, so we can add as many users as you need for Bottle ERP at no extra cost. And from within the system, it's completely mobile. So you just need, again, it works on various devices, whether it's iPads, iPhones, Android apps. As long as it has access to a browser, then we can get WMS Go running on that device for you. So if I just go into here, like I said, the rules and the things that you can see here are dependent to the role and the access that's been given to the WMS Go user. So if this example, I can see we can do all kinds. So we can do the quality control, the samples, the regauge process, but let's just do a quick fulfillment in this case. So if I know the order number, I can scan it. But if I don't know it, I'll just have a look in the list. And the order that we're going to be processing here is for the sales order 68, which is for the order on my left. So I'm just going to click on that. I would then start scanning the orders, the items one by one, using the barcode information that we're providing as part of Bottle ERP. So I'm just going to go through the items, scan the barcodes for the batch control that we're using, put in there the quantity as well that we're scanning, and I'm just going to quickly pick all these things. For items where there are multiple batches available, we are giving you visibility of all those batches. So you would just scan the relevant batch serial number and make sure that you are picking the correct batch. And let me just pick that last item. So we can see there we've scanned everything, all nice audio cues, all nice visual cues as well to say everything's gone green. And when we're happy with that, we can just complete that pick. So WMS Go has created our item fulfillment, and we can see there that it's given us a little confirmation here. And I can just go back to my main menu if need be. And it's worth noting as well, while I'm on the WMS screen, like I said, there's multiple features and functions available to us. So I can go in and do a quality control item, for example, and it will give me any QC checks that I need to process and any of those predefined customizable quality control metrics, whether it's testing for strength, stability, etc., all can be created and maintained on NetSuite, and the actual QC tests themselves are completed on WMS Go. When they complete them, they'll either be hard passes, hard fails, escalations to managers that need approvals, etc. All that is being maintained in NetSuite. I'm also able as well to do samples. So again, I can load a particular container where I want to take a sample from. I can then define the sample quantity that I'm doing, have I done any tests on it as well at that point, and complete a sample. And what that will effectively do is it will create an inventory, a work order build record to reduce that stock of that container record and create now a separate sample stock physical batch, which can then be sold or given away, etc., accordingly. Very similar as well to the regauge process as well. So we can go in there and we can do either an ad hoc regauge or a plan regauge, and ultimately what would happen is we would select the container that we want to regauge. We would enter the new quantity, i.e. take the old dipstick and work out what the new quantity is and the strength test at that point, and then submit that. And then that will alter using an assembly build record. Again, it will change the lot from the values that it was at to the values that it is now at, to make sure that you're tracking your current container and cask quantities and strengths, etc., correctly. If we just go back to our sales order, I'm just going to refresh that screen. So here we can see it was pending fulfillment. And obviously we've just gone into WMS Go and we've just fulfilled that order. So if I just refresh this screen now, we can now see that it's pending billing. And we can also see as well, so where we had all the line items in the fulfilled side before, now we can see that everything has been, on the committed side before, now we can see that everything has been fulfilled. And if we go to the related record tabs, we can see there our item fulfillment record. And if I drill into the item fulfillment record, this is basically what we've just picked in WMS Go. So here we can see the physical SKUs that we picked, including any inventory detail metrics, i.e. the lots, the batches that were picked. I can see where the address information, the carrier that was used, any package information, including weights and tracking links, etc. I can also see as well on the WMS Go tab the actual mobile device and the user that created the pick on WMS Go. So that's WMS Go in a nutshell. Like I said, again, we can go into masses more detail on that, but hopefully it gives you some view of its capabilities, the look and feel of it, and how easy it is to use. Again, more than happy to do a full breakdown session and separate demo on WMS Go and all the capabilities that it has. Now our order's been, so we created our sales order. There was goods available for it, so we've picked and packed that sales order. The next stage of the process would be to invoice it. So again, I'm just going to change role here now, and I'm going to go into a more of a finance role. So NetSuite at its heart is a finance system. So all the core capabilities that you would expect of any finance system, NetSuite's going to do it and more. And for the purpose of this demo, again, very, very light touch on the finance side, but we're able again to create really nice dashboards with visual alerts to show invoices overdue, memorize transactions due, breakdown of aging summary, etc. You know, all the key metrics that you would expect to see with regards to a finance role. Again, you've got all those available to you, whether it's something as simple as like an AR aging summary or a list of all open invoices on the system. NetSuite's able to create all those for you. And again, like before, we can always hit the customize button and tweak and change any of that information if need be. But all I'm going to do here is just click on the bill sales orders link. And what that is going to do is it's going to open up a screen in NetSuite where it's got all the sales orders on the system that are ready for billing, basically. So we're able to, you know, they've had the stock committed, they've all been picked, etc. And they're now in the list of orders to be invoiced. Now, if I'm happy with this list and I can approve everything, I can literally just click mark all and click submit. And then NetSuite is going to go off and create all those invoices for us. Or I can go in and do each one individually if need be. Your choice, but NetSuite will always give you these best working practices to be able to do in what is a manual onerous task normally in bulk to make sure that there's effective time savings there for you. And as you submit that process to do all the invoicing, depending on whether it's one you're creating or 1,000, it will just go into a queue to be processed. Here we can see it's now finished. So if I drill into the complete record, we can see here that it's turned this sales order into this invoice. So once it's created that invoice, the invoice can be printed, it can be emailed out to the customer. It can do that automatically as well, by the way, if need be. So here we've got our invoice now that is sat on the system as a debtor. If I was to go into the customer record, it would now show as on the finance tab as a new amount that is owing. If I also go into the sales information, I can have a look and go on to the ARAP view, the more finance view, and here we can see any open invoices that are on the customer, as well as the date when they're due by, etc., days overdue. Again, it's tracking all that information for us. We can, at this point, accept customer payments, do customer deposits, etc., track any CRM information around phone calls, payment due dates, etc. All that we can capture on NetSuite as well. We can generate individual customer statements. We can connect to your bank account to do reconciliation. Again, the finance demo is not the point of this demo, but if you do need to see that in more detail, rest assured we can set up another session and make sure we go into as much detail as you require on the finance side. So if I now move over and talk a little bit around the duty management side of NetSuite and the unique pieces that we've created as part of Bottle ERP. So obviously, once we've fulfilled the order and invoiced the order, we now have to pay the duty on it. So within NetSuite, what we're able to do is and I'm going to show you for the purpose of this demo, the W5D process. So what you'd normally have is is the HMRC gateway open on one window or one monitor, etc. And then you'd go into the duty logging screen within NetSuite. You would select a date range from which you're wanting to process the transaction. So whether you're doing this on a daily basis or a weekly basis, etc., you would define that. And it's now gone off and looked at all the individual lines and all the individual transactions where we need to pay duty. And all I'm going to do here is just click Mark All and then click Return Review HMRC. So here again, it's given us a nice simple summary. Please pay HMRC £24.15, enter your HMRC reference and select the account that you're going to post to, etc. And then click confirm, and it will do the rest for us. So if I just put the reference number in there, click confirm, and then process is going to go off and run in the background, and it's going to automatically notify us as well when that's actually created. And what that is doing is it's going off and it's creating the journal for us automatically, whereby, and if I just go into one of those transactions for you, just to show you what that would look like. So here's an example of one of the duty journals that it's created. So it's moving the value there from duty to accrued purchases accordingly, and it's putting any reference numbers in there, which in this case was Stephen 123. We're also able, because what it's also doing in the background as well is it's also going off and updating any of all the transaction lines from the orders that we selected. So if I go back and have a look at, I believe it was SO68. Let me use our handy global search to track for that. So here we can now see, here's our sales order. So not only can we now see that the status of that is billed, and on our related records tab, we've got our fulfillment, our shipment that we did. We've also got our invoice there as well. If I go down to the line level information, so where we've got our duty status, first of all, here, as we can see that the duty is paid on it. We can also see as well here at line level, duty paid, and the W5D reference is captured on each individual line of the sales transaction once the duty has been paid and logged accordingly. So again, we're automating all that functionality for you. So every single line that has any value at all that's requiring duty to be paid on it is being captured and timestamped for full audit capabilities. Finally, on the whole duty stroke auditability point of view, what we've also created is a full duty daily report process. So what happens at the end of each day, we are creating automatically, and this is a system-driven thing, a daily duty report. So what it is doing is it takes a summary, it takes a snapshot at the start of the day, then at the end of the day, it creates it updates the record to capture any movements and any transactions that happened within that day. And if we have a look at one of those daily duty reports to give you an example of the information that we're capturing, so we're capturing like the opening stock values, opening APL values, etc. We're capturing all the individual stock lines and the values that are held at that point in time when it was created. Any LPA transaction lines that were moved and that would need tracking, again, we're capturing all of those. We're tracking LPA in, LPA out, any exceptions, any errors. If we've actually gone and paid duty on that day as well, we're capturing a record of that we're able to drill down into. So from an audit capability percentage, this is absolutely fantastic. So if you do get auditors come in and ask what happened on that day, you're able just to open this record and provide all the information that they need. So that concludes the demo for Bottle ERP. Like I said, it was a bit of a whistle-stop tour, and we did go into most of the areas in a very light touch. But if you do have any questions, or if you wanted to see anything in more detail, more than happy to set up those follow-on demos.
Thank you very much, Stephen. We have actually got some questions coming in, if that's all right, if we can cover them. So Phil has asked, obviously you showed the W5D there. Are W1 and W21 supported?
Yes, yeah, those will be configurable options when you, as part of the Bottle ERP installation and configuration, which solution you require to handle those. And there's just separate screens for each one, basically. And the look and feel and the outputs are in the format that are expected for each of the form types.
Thank you. Irene has asked, does the platform support CRM and forecasting?
Yeah, we didn't go into too much detail on that today, but if I show you very, very quickly on this one, if I go back to our customer record, we can see on the communication tab. So this is where all the CRM activities and messages, etc., are grouped together. So if if you're emailing directly out of NetSuite and they reply back to you, that's already being captured. If you're doing any activities, which can be phone calls, calendar events, or face-to-face meetings, again, all those are being captured on the system as well. And you can do these activities and email tracking against any entity, whether it be supplier, contact, or customer, or any physical transaction on NetSuite as well. We can do all that activity tracking. You're also able to do full lead nurturing in NetSuite. So what that means is you can take a lead, you can create a business deal or an opportunity within NetSuite, and that would move to a prospect stage. It would drop into a customer forecast and a sales rep forecast and a sales pipeline report. We support sales rep quotas as well. So very, very powerful CRM functionality to manage and track your pre-sales activities.
Brilliant. Thanks, Stephen. And then we've got a couple more questions, but I think we've got time for one more. Dave has asked, we keep seeing the Whisky tab there, send in Whisky. And Dave's just asking, what's Whisky? How does that fit into Bottle ERP?
So Whisky is an external third-party solution that we use quite heavily for complex document management. So what that enables you to do is full version control on any documents, drag and drop into a Whisky tab that will then store all that information in Whisky and its document management control system, but it integrates seamlessly within NetSuite. So whilst NetSuite does allow you to track and track documents and add documents to any record on NetSuite, it doesn't give you the full breakdown and flexibility that Whisky has. So standard NetSuite, for example, doesn't do version control and change management as part of the documents that are added, whereas Whisky does. And you can change, you can share the properties, etc., and do full revision control and change control as well on Whisky.
For compliance, it's really important to have something in there so that you can see, your suppliers or collaborate with your suppliers through compliance requests. So it's a really good third-party tool that we've got a really good partnership with. So it's well worth a look at if we're to have further conversations with any of you guys. There are a few more questions, but unfortunately we've run out of time. So we will we'll reply back to you guys who we haven't been able to answer. And we'll also follow up with some information on Bottle ERP, information on Whisky, and some FAQs as well. But that concludes the webinar. I hope you've all found it really useful and informative. As Stephen said, it was very, very light touch. We could spend all day talking about it, but the main thing that we want you to take away today is that we finally have a system that's in the cloud, that runs your business from end to end, and not many third parties would be needed, but it's all integrated, and you'll have a lot better chance of scaling your businesses as quickly as you want to. So from me, it's a goodbye. From Stephen, thank you very much, and we will hopefully speak to you all soon. Take care.
Thank you very much.